When you're looking at your past lives, you probably wonder, when did I live long ago? Hello, hello, hello. It's Carol Ann Chapman, and I'm the author of When We Were Gods, which is a chronicle of my past life memories of Atlantis. So today we are going to look at, when did you live in your past life based on clues in your present life? And so we're going to look at, what kind of books and movies do you love? And we're especially looking at historical books and movies. So for example, are you one of those people that like, say, Jurassic Park, Clan of the Cave Bears? Well, that would be a lifetime in a prehistoric time when we lived very naturally in caves and we're hunter gatherers, and maybe we're beginning to grow things. So, what about, what if you like these movies and you love romances with pirates, like Pirates of the Caribbean? Well, that time period would be like the 1700s and 1800s, or even as early as the 1600s. And could have been not only Europe, but there's a lot of piracy also in Asia, in the boats sailing in the Indian Ocean there, or even in the Pacific. Now, next, what about the Napoleonic Wars or the Revolutionary War here in the United States? Do you like to watch movies and read books about that time period? Well, that would be in the late 1700s. Now, maybe you're like me. I like to read romances, but I especially like romances about the Regency period in England. And that time was in the early 1800s. So if you like those kind of romances, that might have been the time when you lived before. What about the Civil War, such as Gone with the Wind? Do you know Gone with the Wind is the highest grossing movie if you convert the um, the money into art. You know how there's been inflation. Well, Avatar is supposed to be the highest grossing movie, but if you adjusted the money that was made from Gone with the Wind, you'll find that it's number one. So lots of people love that movie, and it is shown over and over and over and over again, which is the Civil War time here in the United States. And certainly, if you love going to Civil War reenactments, there's a really good chance that you lived during that time, which was around 1861. Now, what about the Titanic? Was that the movie that just stirred your soul? Well, the Titanic was from the early 1900s, 1912. That would have been before the First World War. So, is that a, if that is something that you love, could you have been alive at that time? Now, another really popular movie that people watch over and over again, they love the music to it, is Dr. Zhivago. Dr. Zhivago is around 1905, before the Russian Revolution. And if that's a movie you love, it might also indicate that you had a past life in Russia. Now, finally, these are the movies that I love the most. I love movies of the Second World War. And I especially love movies in which Jews escape from concentration camps, or movies in which they, even in spite of the concentration camp, they live. Like Schindler's List is one of my favorites, because at the end you see that in spite of everything Hitler did, there are still so many Jewish people on earth. And I do know that I did have a past life in that time and was in a concentration camp. So it makes perfect sense that these are the kind of movies that I love to watch. of that time period. What about ancient Egypt? Are you crazy about books and movies having to do with the pharaohs, the pyramids, temples, all that gorgeous jewelry? Well, if so, that time period is about from 2700 BCE to 1000 BCE. Long time ago, but gosh, a very rich time in world history. Now, my husband is crazy about the movie Ben Hur. And if you love movies having to do with Ben Hur or Cleopatra or the Roman period when Jesus walked the earth, then that time period is around 0. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned China and Chinese foot binding. Did you feel a resonance with that? I had said, do you have issues with your feet? Or are you just really excited about books about ancient China? So that time period, especially with the foot binding, is from like the 900s until actually 1849 is when foot binding was banned. It could have been in the 900s or the 1000s. It's quite a long time ago and quite a powerful time in China. What about the Tudor period? There have been some movies about Elizabeth I, and people love them. They love to watch these movies. They love to read books about that time. This is not only about Elizabeth I, it's also about King Henry VIII. There are so many books written about the Tudor period. So if this is a time that is really special to you and you really resonate with it, that time period is from 1485 to 1600. So you could have lived at that time in your past life. Now, what about Westerns? Are you crazy about Westerns? There was a time when everybody was crazy about Westerns. For example, there was some of the earliest television series were about Rin Tin Tin. So that would have been movies like Dances with Wolves. These are movies about the West and when it was first settled by Europeans. There's a lot in these movies about Native people. And that time period is from the 1850s to 1900. So if in your environment, remember I had the video about the environment, if your environment, you prefer the plains, flatlands, prairie lands rather than seashore or mountains, and if you have a talent with animals, especially with horses, consider that you might have lived during that time from the 1850s to 1900. If you keep track of the different videos in this series, in the different episodes, by now, if you're keeping track, you'll have a sense of where you lived, what country you lived in the past, what environment, whether you were on the seashore or the mountains or on the plains. You'd have an idea of what did you do based on your talents in this lifetime. And now with this one, with this video here, you might get an idea of where, no, not where, of when you lived in your past life. All right, now if you've enjoyed this, please tap that like button. And if you're interested in these topics of past lives and also Atlantis, memories of Atlantis, please subscribe. Great talking with you. Toodaloo. Bye-bye.